Welcome to Satsang. Can you put her shawl over her back? Just put her shawl over her. It's her shawl. Can you bring her here?
Hello.
Hello, my love.
I'm really sorry.
As I've just said, there's nothing to be sorry about. You've been waiting to do that for thousands of years.
So I was going to ask a question.
Okay. Just listen down.
There is a happening. It's been happening for a while. Months. Right.
This one up, please.
Or longer, actually. Since I've seen you last, things just got worse than before. I just couldn't bear my life. I couldn't stay in England. I couldn't speak to anyone. I couldn't speak to friends. I didn't really want to speak. I haven't wanted to be around anyone. And I couldn't work at all. And so I just left my flat, everything. Just let it all go, my car. And I went to Thailand to be on my own, just on the beach, in nature, with my friends. Just, I couldn't, haven't wanted to communicate at all. And when I try, it's exhausting. Just can't. And I've been, but it's hard. And a while ago I was meditating, and it's like there's an earthquake inside of my body, and it was feeling very out of control. And I didn't want to meditate, and I couldn't help meditating at the same time. And it was just rumbling inside of me, and it got to a point where it was right at the top of my head, or it felt like. And I just experienced the most enormous terror, like a terror like I've never, doesn't have words, the terror. And I somehow managed to distract myself from it, ate a lot, food, and just went into fight or flight mode. Every time I tried to meditate, it was like paralysed in fear. And I've been waiting to see you, but in the waiting, I have preparing the body in a way. The eating I haven't been able to stop, but I went to an ashram, 2 ashrams, And one of them was to work with the body, shaking ashram in Bali, and screaming for 10 days. Every time the master, the teacher, would look at me and just scream. And a few times, I did also a 10-day meditation retreat and screamed and cried the whole time. It's like I'm split into two parts. There is a part of me that's holding on to someone I know I'm not. I don't know who I am. I look in the mirror, I have no idea. The person who looks at me is I don't know who she is. My name doesn't feel right, nothing feels right. There is this part, and this part is holding on for dear life. Like even now, there's this inside of me, and I can feel where this part is holding to a way of being that has been so painful in my life, my physical life, an unbearable pain. But there is this bigger part of me that knows who I am, and knows why I'm here, and knows what I'm here for, and knows the truth. And they are fighting. And for some reason, this small part of myself thinks it's going to win, and isn't. And it's causing that reaction. I mean, I couldn't help that reaction. The fear is, I'm so scared. And I've just been waiting and waiting, and then we couldn't get here yesterday, and or the day before. Then there was a devastation because I've been waiting for this to let go in the place where I feel safe. I knew you could hold whatever was there, however scary it is. I knew that you wouldn't let me die. Well, in a way, I would die, but I would die in a good way. And I knew that, and we couldn't get here. And I was just a lot in meditation, a lot trying to just accept and trust that whatever was happening was for a reason. And then eventually we were able to find a car to bring us, and it was not good conditions from Chennai. And then on the way here, we collided with a motorbike. I don't know what happened. Our driver was driving on the wrong side and I was keeping in meditation and I didn't notice. And then there was a voice in my head that said, put your seatbelt on. Because for some reason I'd forgotten to put it on. And just say, put your seatbelt on. And I was like, oh, okay. I put my seatbelt on. My friend and I were in the car with another girl. And then the next thing I know, a motorbike was just driving directly towards us. And my driver didn't move. And neither did the motorbike. And so we crashed. And the bike with the man, I closed my eyes and the man fell on the road and just in the car stopped instinctively. I just got out and I went to the man. He didn't look good. He had a head injury and he was lying. It wasn't good. And I just kept saying to my friend, there must be a reason for this. And we said a prayer and stopped the traffic. But it was just... And the police came, the ambulance, we had to go to there was all this thing. I was just like, even this is painful. I can't even get here without a disaster occurring and somebody getting hurt. And we were just like, it just felt like it was impossible to get to love. And there was, in the meantime, just something horrendous occurred. Anyway, we're here. I don't know what happened to the man. The police, no one seemed to care about this man. They were more interested in who was right and who was wrong. And this man was lying and no one was taking him. There was an ambulance and It was like no one cared about this human being who had been really hurt. It was more interested in human stuff. And anyway, this is what's happening.
Yesterday, a member of the team said, "The world is collapsing." She said it in a worldly sense. And there was a lot of despair in it. When we were together in Earth Spirit back in April, we touched on something briefly, and I'd like to dive into it more together. At this time, we could say we've never been quite so stretched as a species. The potential is so high, but within that, the fight has never been stronger, and you've just articulated it. The battle within, between your knowing and between the absolute terror of your knowing. And it's a full-scale inner war in every single human being. And every time you say no to your knowing, that is the material world collapsing. That is death to your knowing. Now we know that knowing cannot die, so I'm playing a little bit. What's happening is when a being first comes to the heart, when they first start to taste the reality of the you that has no shape and no form, your own word, the earthquake, sums it up perfectly. But in that moment, we will call what I will call the necessary mess, the necessary catastrophe. It is so turbulent. The minute a being comes to love, that is just the beginning. You are opening the doors wide onto catastrophe. You will never be messier. You will never be more chaotic, more unstable, and more identified than when you first come to the heart. Now, if you imagine that, then many beings at this time are recognizing something beyond. And in that moment of recognition, the great pot of dissonance is growing. Within each being's awakening, there is also their doubt of their knowing, the silencing of their knowing that has occurred over thousands of years. We've got a great story behind us of silencing your knowing. And all of that is creating a huge pot of dissonance. There is no avoiding this period of turbulence. We have to go through it. However, within that, there is also a great no to dissonance. Love is fiercer than fierce right now. It has to be for the sake of its children. Because also within beings, there is such a defiant one. The one that wants its own autonomy. It's in the tiniest detail. You have no true understanding of what it means to be autonomous. But the one that's fighting for its own independence is that collective mayhem. It is the one that is in absolute terror of loss, that is trying to claim something for itself in fear of loss. What's happening for this one is immense. That does not mean you're here to negate the doubt. The doubt will also serve you. The doubt is your deepening. But like yesterday when a member of the team said, the world is collapsing, feel that collapse of what that really means and why. Don't collapse into despair. Then you are that. Then you are that feeding dissonance. Yes, it's a fine line, because you also have to taste. You have to taste every aspect of this one. This is one collective mind. One mind in a perpetual inner battle. We are still saying, I'm here meditating and you're over there causing a war. I know last time we spoke you were very fearful of an outburst like that. In fact, you asked permission. You asked if it was possible for that to happen in a satsang space. Beings don't realize what coming to the heart means. It's not sitting around feeling peaceful in quite the way they think it is. It's the hero and the heroine's journey. Yes, you will know peace, within which you have to taste everything in order to undo all of the knots of your misunderstanding. And that takes courage, that takes integrity, and that's what you're doing. There's been a very strong feeling in you right from the beginning that you can't talk about this to anyone. Do you need to? No. So allow the doubts of that to come up. The personal Sophia doubts of, yes, but what will my friend think of me? What will happen if I don't call my mother back? What will happen if I don't go back to work? Feel the details of each interaction that you can't fully meet in the way you once did. He can come in. Sorry? He can come in if he's, yeah. Thank you. To be able to stand in a room of doubt and not wobble. This is love in action. Because all of the doubts that may be thrown at you from others are yours. Because it's one mind. One great collective child mind that's growing up. And what an adolescence it is. It's a very painful one. It doesn't make it wrong. Nonetheless, this adolescent is really out of control now. It needs firm guidance. And you are that guidance. Your knowing is Ma. Ma is your knowing. The form of Ma that you've fallen in love with is simply you falling in love with your knowing. And love in its benevolence has given you a concrete form, or so it seems, in order to plug yourself in back into your knowing.
I don't seem to be able to relax the body. I know that's what I'm needing to do, is to relax, just to let go. So whatever is occurring can do what it needs to do. I can. Recently I can't find the right words for anything. It's just, my mind is strong and also not working in the way that it used to. It's not as quick.
How wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now, I think now I need to let go, because I'm tired of this I'm not going to win. It's not strong. It's too strong.
Okay. So let's feel the wisdom in our need to let go and also know the misunderstanding in it. Your mind cannot let go. That's a contradiction in terms. The child mind, I mean. When I use the term child mind, I mean the identified thinking mind that has temporarily forgotten its greater mind. It's all the one mind, but we'll call it the child mind. It's not the paddy. We don't punish a child just because it makes a mistake. We guide it. So, I need to let go. When you give your mind an instruction like that, it can sometimes manage it for a little while, and then it collapses back into its old routine. What you're really meaning is this: I must shift my perspective. I must look from the eyes of the heart. Within that perspective is what you are calling letting go. It's not so active as the mind saying, I must do this so this can happen. It's a shift of your perspective. Like right now, can you put your hand on your chest, the left hand, and feel as if your eyes are actually under the palm. Is it possible?
I can feel where there's a huge resistance.
The microphone, my love.
I can feel where there's almost an unwillingness.
Okay, so unwillingness is present.
Yes.
And still feel the eyes.
Okay.
And when you can feel the eyes under your palm, open your physical eyes and look through them. When you look through the eyes of the heart, do you need to let go?
I'm not sure I'm fully there.
It's okay. It's okay. So let's bring you there. What kept you coming?
Does that sound? I can feel the love outside of me, but there is a fear of feeling it inside of me.
Okay.
And I know that I can't, there's these two parts of me, it's like two different people. The part of me that knows who I am leads me to come to Satsang. There was no choice not to come.
Okay. So in that feeling now, in that knowing, how do you know that you know that knowing?
I just know.
Okay.
That part of me is big.
Okay.
As in it.
So this big part of you, does it need to let go? No. Okay. Do you see how you've just condensed yourself? You've tried to squeeze a very big you into a tiny little narrow corner. And that narrowness is saying, no, but I must behave like this. There is wisdom in that narrowness, actually. The child mind always contains some wisdom, but it's misinterpreting it. It's saying, I must let go, because the wisdom is, I must come here, which is the letting go. Step by step, we're guiding this child mind into a deeper maturity. So every time you feel that sense of, I really should be letting go, listen, but broaden it. Even the relaxing of your body. Sorry. Even the relaxing of your body. do you need to relax your body?
So there is this thought that to let go I have to relax the body.
Okay.
And and I'm quite tired holding it still all the time. You know, it's like I walk around holding my stomach, holding my arms to my body, like as if somebody's about to get me.
Yes, everyone is doing that in different ways. Everyone thinks someone is about to get me. Tomorrow, for your sake, my love, we're not going to begin the meditation with a physical relaxation. So everyone is aware and prepared.
Good.
Very good. It is not required. It's very helpful. Stepping stones, but it is not required. Is your knowing tense?
No.
Okay. The real nugget here is this unwillingness one is also your gift. But you have to catch it. Because the unwilling one is so stubborn, so obstinate, so entrenched in its ways. And this is the war. It refuses to listen. It's in ways that you won't even realize. We're talking about it every day in the smallest detail within the team. I'll give you a little example. We were sat having a team meeting and someone got their mobile phone out within the meeting and started just doing this. My space, I have my own time, it's my life. You can wait, love. Do you see it happens in so many moments, you're not even aware of it. And that's the vigilance, to catch the one who feels they're independent. Nothing is wrong. Not even your name. What a name to have.
Yeah. I do like my name, but it's, I think, I like my name. I just don't recognise myself when people...
I know what you were saying, I'm playing. But still, see the precision. In this lifetime, you have no choice about it. You are to awaken to Sophia. And within that comes all of the story of the negated Sophia. And you have to face it. But it's a beautiful facing, even when it's terrifying. Because from here, you can see the wonder of it.
I have noticed that it's become very physical now, because there's been months and months and months of willing looking, even in the moments of genuinely not knowing if I could live through it. But even in those moments, I can see how life has become so magic, in its essence, how it is so magic. And there's been months and months and months of really looking and really seeing and really feeling. And now I've noticed that it's turned slightly because there's an obsession around the physical body. The physical, it's not been an issue ever. There's been so much else to focus on. That the physical body has been really the least of the pain. But I've noticed that now the pain is around the physical body, most of the pain. There's the fear, which has been and has felt enormous, but the obsession, almost, the mind's obsession, is on the body, the eating. It's like I've given myself a reason to to be obsessed with this, because this has never been for me the case before, and I can see where I'm finding reasons to stay here in this small space as a reason not to allow myself to move to where I know but it's not that I'm going anywhere, but it's the remembering of who I already was and couldn't see, and the being willing, I guess, to look at the grief around that, and small periods of grief had to come around that. There have been various things that have occurred that have triggered this grief around that. So there has been a level of expression around that, but I can really see how now it's just become very this.
Is that wrong?
It's not wrong, no, I'm just finding it quite difficult.
But finding it quite difficult is also saying it's wrong. Let it be what we could say physically challenging without being challenged. Let it be the process that it is. The fear that you speak of, the fear of your knowing. Because what happens if you really know your knowing?
Well, there's no excuses to not be who I am. There's no excuses to be the victim, to be powerless. I have to take responsibility.
You have to take responsibility?
As for my life, for me, like, I feel that the terror is in the power, not in a negative way, the power to, not to have power over anybody, nothing like that, but it's the power of the love of the being.
Okay.
And also, at that point, well, you can't be a victim anymore, you can't hold on to pain, there's not an option.
Sure.
Because you know the truth of, I don't know.
No, you are explaining, I understand precisely. The minute you know you're knowing, it's not up to you anymore. You have no say. Not the person anyway. It is all your say. It is all your creation, but not the you you've so far thought it to be. The fear of no longer existing as you have felt yourself to be existing. The fear of having no control. Full leaping off the cliff. Hands off the steering wheel. It's not me driving existence anymore. Who am I if I'm not deciding outcomes? If I don't mind what happens within this existence? In that handing over, in that leap, you then know what is yours in this existence. What a paradox. Only when you're willing to not know can you know. The mind has a very nihilistic understanding of nothing. But it has to taste it. It has to taste what it feels is the horror of nothing. To know the true no-thingness of being. So what's happening now with your body is so precise, because the child mind is saying, no, but I am here, I am finite, I exist. It's my autonomy. I decide. And what better way to do that than to feed itself up?
And it's really doing that very well.
For now. Honour this process. The mind is in such a hurry. You've already said you can see the bigger picture through it, but you negate that seeing. Like even you saying many months, many months, many months, many months. Doesn't matter how long it takes. What grace.
Yes, I know that you're right. I am just exhausted, like very, very tired.
Is that wrong?
No, it's just exhausting. By 6 o'clock, I can't stand anymore. I have to go to bed. And I know it's because of this. I'm staying in control. I'm losing control. I'm staying in control. I'm losing control. And I'm just tired. And the knowing I feel like I'm midway through something really beautiful. And yes, the mind is wanting it now, and I can see that. And the body is tired, and there's all these reasons why it has to be now. And there's a lack of acceptance of, well, maybe it's not going to be now. Maybe it's not going to be in a year's time. Maybe it's not going to be in your lifetime. And can you accept that?
You will never accept.
No.
The mind thinks it has a moment of acceptance. It accepts on Monday, on Tuesday it doesn't accept. It's a constant seesaw. You're beyond acceptance. Use that feeling of acceptance as a stepping stone to a deeper knowing. I understand what you're saying, because the mind is so strong that sometimes it feels like you have to encourage the mind into acceptance of the knowing of the heart. I understand. And it may feel like that to begin with. Shift your perspective. It may not feel possible in the moment of the burn, but it is possible. Tiredness comes when the body is being stopped. Every expression is love in expression. When you negate the tiredness, you negate love. You say, no, you've got it wrong, love. Surrender yourself to it. Give yourself to that, which is what you're calling acceptance. But that true giving to yourself to it can only come from here. Even in your journey to Tiruvannamalai, a very strong one, to give yourself to whatever occurred. That does not mean complacency. You saw very clearly that there was not integrity when the man was on the floor in the street. And the beings were not feeling him, were not feeling themselves in the form of that him. Taste that misunderstanding. You being able to taste that is part of your maturing. It's not a condemnation of those others and they're not feeling him, but it is a recognition of where we are. When I say we, I mean the one mind that has split itself into billions of little minds, all reflecting the one mind. And that is your duty and your responsibility, therefore, to be that integrity.
Actually, I do have a question around that. It's just, we were afraid that the police were going to ask us what had happened. And one of the girls said we should stand by the driver, because was explaining that in India they can beat a man to death for knocking somebody over, or that he could be put into prison, and that he was a nice man, and she felt initially that we should, if anyone asks, we should just say that whatever. And I said I didn't feel that I was able to do that, because it wasn't in truth for me to lie, and that the truth was that I'd been in and out of meditation, but I was aware we weren't necessarily on the right side of the road, and that the bike was coming towards us. And whilst I did really like our driver, he wasn't driving very carefully, and I wasn't sure in that situation. I didn't want to get anybody into trouble. I of course didn't want our driver to go to prison, but then there was this man on the floor who was on the right side of the road, and in that situation, acting in integrity, I mean, I didn't, thankfully the police didn't ask us, But there are often situations like that, and of course, it's all me. I don't want to hurt anybody. I didn't want to hurt anybody. I didn't, and I at that point, I didn't know what was the right thing, what was the heart, what was the thing to do that would have been for the heart. I didn't know.
Well, you just said, though, that you knew that you couldn't lie.
No.
So there's your knowing. Your knowing is never liking or not liking. Your knowing is all-encompassing love that sees all of the details. It doesn't need to measure up whether it likes someone enough. If you didn't like the man, would you have told on him? Do you see? It's much deeper than that. Truth will never hurt. It may feel that it hurts to the one receiving it, but it can never do damage. You have no choice. Every time you turn your back on your knowing, do we need to end that sentence? It's unbearable, it's unthinkable to turn your back on your knowing. There's a beautiful moment in the story of Peter Pan. I don't know if you remember it, where I can't remember how it's worded exactly, but it is something along the lines of, if you say you don't believe in fairies, somewhere a fairy dies. So clap if you believe. Now you are beyond belief. So we'll upgrade this to a maturer version. But every time you don't know your knowing, we'll call it a death. Knowing that knowing cannot die. Every time you know your knowing, the light brightens. You feel it. That's not poetic.
And the fear will just dissipate as I keep coming here. It will just...
The fear is your gift, my love. It pushes you over the edge. Because when you fear that strongly, you know you have to jump. Fear is a very loud voice, pointing you to hear. Listen to it. Don't succumb, but listen. Of course this child mind is terrified. Within that we've got all the layers of the child mind who feels so let down by love. All of the sense of betrayal. And you've got to work through all of that. And the fear will come up to say, I don't want to make myself vulnerable again. Why would I trust that which has so profoundly betrayed me? And a deeper you says, but I know beyond that. And fear comes to wash you out. So you feel the fear, you feel the burn. As I say, it is a fine line of giving yourself to it, surrendering yourself to that expression, whilst not fully losing yourself in it. And in that process, it is released. That is why it is more colourful in an emotional sense than ever before when you come to the heart, because every emotion burns brighter, so that you can fully experience its limitation and also learn from it, because within each emotion there is also a lesson. Emotions aren't bad. It is only when they are born from your contracted need that they cause misunderstanding. But a form of Ma is still emotional, just not need-based. Thank you, Madam.
I saw you in Mount Shasta and Namibia. And we spoke about my relationship with my guru. Sorry. And we spoke about, I've been with the same guru for 15 years. In that, what was just spoken around the child mind, since seeing you, it's like you kick something loose, and there has been nearly a year of purging of old things, misconceptions, and in October, this deep release of anger that went on for about a month, and maybe not done, but it, I knew what I was going to say once. There is something that resists. There is something that wants that autonomy, that's very, very, very young. And all that anger that moved through was anger at my birth father. Okay.
Had it come through before, or this October was specific to that?
There had been anger, but it was just expressed. It wasn't seen. This time it was like sweating. It was just pouring off the body, and it was like it came out of the cells. It wasn't any sense of targeting or direction. And then now the mind begins to pick up, and the old habits of negativity begin to I hear the voice again. And there is nothing that this man has ever done to deserve this. There's something in my connection to you that releases it all. I'm just looking for a pointing.
Are you able to be precise with what it is you're angry about with him? I know this is delicate. Let's try and work with specifics.
Well, at the bottom of it is the sense of losing love. It's the sense of not terribly sure what happened in my childhood. But my mother disappeared for a while, and there's a lot of realizing that there's a misunderstanding within the child at the time, probably blaming my father.
How old were you when she disappeared?
18 months, 2 years.
Okay.
And then there was a kind of repetition with the birth of my sister, where my mother came back. It was like we had a reconnection, kind of a nice little love affair that lasted a little while, and then my sister was born. And then child after child after child after child. time. But with being with it for a long time, there's a recognition that things that the anger was attached to happened much later, and then got sort of mixed up in the memory. And only
The anger towards him was felt much later.
well, the incidents that were specific that the memory could hold on to, whereas the loss that the child experienced took place much earlier.
Yeah.
And it feels like somehow untying this knot is the path.
Yes, it is. The emotional heart in all beings has built very dense walls of self-protection around itself, but it's not necessarily aware of them. And those walls are born from you feeling abandoned by a great parent. The moment you came into form, you forgot who you truly are beyond this form was the moment that that separation began. And somehow, in that forgetting of yourself, the child mind translates that as I have been forgotten. I have been abandoned by the great parent. So there's your starting point. First day in form, and that is your starting point. Okay, now we know what page we're all on. And then every relationship you're ever going to have is going to mirror that. And your expectations are extremely high. And they're always going to be thwarted. And the birth parents are right up there with those expectations. And they will never satisfy you. The gift that at 18 months love said, this one we can start prematurely. We will take mother away so that he comes to learn in this lifetime true mother. We will make him feel that father doesn't love him so that he can come to know great father. It is actually the same for all beings, but in a very different way for all beings. This is your script. Okay. And it's very precise. And the fact that you're diving into all of the chapters of the story and really feeling them all over again, just as you say, this is the key.
The repetitions that have occurred through the life with relationships. The intensity of it and the denial that's in it has fallen away. It's not like, the relationships themselves have become much more intense, but in a true meaning.
Okay.
But not with David. It stays, that wall somehow stays there, though it's melted a lot. It's my partner feels him so much more clearly than I can. And I get jealous because I've done it for much longer than she. But there's something in what you were speaking about, the reluctance, the resistance within the child mind that is remaining, that hasn't been finished.
Yeah. In this one's story, the anger has very much been on the male, on the father form. And therefore Devaji is going to be that for you. There is no accident that you've been with him all these years and you've done very deep work. And he has been helping you to unravel the deep mistrust of the male, of the father principle, of Shiva. Right. And that's the holding. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It doesn't even matter that you are still feeling resistance. To see it, it's part of your process. Nothing is wrong. Can you put your left hand here? Just close your eyes for a moment and give yourself to the hand against the chest. Can you feel a warmth under the palm? Is there resistance to the warmth?
No.
Okay. Now feel as if your eyes are in that warmth, are that warmth. Is that possible?
The warmth gets bigger.
Okay.
I don't know about eyes.
Okay, so let's stay with the warmth. So let that warmth look through your physical eyes right now. Is it possible? Well,
I think so.
you think so or you know so?
It's a little new.
Okay, new is good. So let warmth look through those physical eyes. Feel it. You can't think it.
No.
How does it feel?
It's like it's warm from the hand to the eyes. And everywhere in between.
Does it feel tight?
In the eyes?
When you look from the warmth, is warmth tight?
No. Maybe it's just being really tired. I don't know.
Okay. Is warmth feeling fearful?
No. No.
Okay. Is warmth resistant?
No.
Does warmth need an outcome? Back into warmth. Does warmth need anything?
No.
Okay.
The habit has been to think something was needed.
Okay. The mind is perpetually thinking it needs. But let's understand why. It's totally understandable that the mind should be needing something, because it's forgotten its reality. Let's go back to that one that's first come into form. It's forgotten a great parent, but somehow it retains a memory of great parent way back, like some distant tune it can just about make out. And that is the memory of love, of you, of the reality. And therefore the child mind, feeling separate, feeling abandoned, not in full recognition of itself. It feels isolated and alone, and now it has to look after itself. If great parent has abandoned it, who is going to look after it? This is the autonomy. This is the birth of the independent one. And this one is full of need. It has to fulfill something. The great gap, the great hole it feels. But there is wisdom here too. Because in seeking love, in feeling that something is profoundly missing, it knows that its happiness lies in love. And it goes on a mission. It's a misunderstood mission, but it's also a wise one. Because your completion does lie in love. The need is the craving to complete yourself in love. When you're looking from the eyes of warmth, you are love itself, therefore you cannot need it. It's not about stopping the mind from needing, it is simply transcending to the one that cannot need. And you've just done it. But you are absolutely right. There is a big habit of thinking that you need something. That's the great war within. Because when you know your knowing, you don't need. When you deny your knowing, you need. From the eyes of warmth, is it possible to view your father right now?
He is, since that time with the anger, he has been coming back as somebody who did very well. We were really poor, and he took care of us and didn't leave us. There was one other conflict, and that was he's very, very fundamentally religious. And I couldn't go there with that either. But even that, he was true to what he could know. And it seems like it's a work in process, but he's coming more and more into my consciousnesses as myself.
Okay. So now, with all of those details, with the personal details of understanding the him and seeing what he did materially, all of that is important. Of gaining a full picture of how consciousness works. Right? All of the details of you. But now, let's look even beyond the details. When you look from the eyes of warmth, at the form of you that we're going to call your father, how is it?
It's softening.
Very good. That's the process. It doesn't all go overnight. But while you're investigating the physical and material details of the childhood, which is so important because they are still you, they are you in that form. At the same time, simultaneously, it is to bring your focus here and view the details, whatever they are, from here. This will allow you even greater scope on the details, to understand how precise love is in getting your attention. When you look from the eyes of warmth, do you need to forgive him? What an answer.
Hello, Ma.
Hello.
This child inside, carries the belief that I'm not good enough. And I also feel this child feels very scared of coming up. But there's so strong pull, just I can't stop. I just want to come up for this love and peace and silence. And there's also a gentle voice inside of me saying to this child that it's okay if you feel scared, but I'll hold your hand and you can come up, and it's okay if you're scared. And there's no need to hide yourself. You can show yourself. You can be seen.
You've just spoken on behalf of everybody, of all of humanity. Everyone feels not good enough. Who is the voice who spoke to you?
Sorry.
Who is the voice who spoke to you?
Who spoke to
Who
me?
is the voice?
Who is the voice saying I'm not good enough?
No, saying it is okay to come up.
Me?
And who is this me?
It's just me.
Can you see the me that's saying it's okay?
No. I can feel it.
Okay. Is it male or female?
Neither female or male.
What a wonder you are. A you that you cannot see, neither male nor female, but you know this you as you. The deeper you guiding a little you that's learning to be the bigger you. And that's the journey, is to let that deeper you speak and to listen. Willingness means listening. It's so terrifying for the little one, but it's okay. Just as your own wisdom said, just as Ma as you, that voice is Ma, is pure love, is your knowing, pure consciousness being. The one who feels not good enough. There is even a chink of wisdom in here, but let's look at it. Because the child mind does see something, but misinterprets. So when you came into form and you forgot the deeper you, they're way back, but essentially a veil over it for now. A sense grows in the child mind that if I was abandoned by the Great One, then it must be because I'm not lovable enough. I'm unworthy of the Great Parent's love. And all beings are carrying a profound sense of I am not good enough. And they walk into the world with that root feeling and demonstrate in different ways. Some do it in a very demonstrative way, to make themselves feel worthy. I demand to be seen. Others step back and retreat and hide. It's all the same feeling though at core. However, within that, there is a recognition of the child mind that you are beyond all comprehension. You are vaster than vast. You are but a baby in your own arms. And the child mind has translated its own infancy as insignificance. I'm too small to be worthy. I'm too tiny in this vast, unloving universe. It's not all wrong, this beloved child mind. We just have to show it the way. Speaking from here, from the one true voice, is there unworthiness?
No.
No. There's the clarity. So fresh. The child mind, when it's trying to learn that freshness, will go through a phase of either being arrogant, in trying to be worthy, or in tiny and small and hiding. Both are necessary journeys, so that you can know the one true voice that is clarity, the true power, the true strength that you are. And now we can hold all of the details of the child mind because they're still there, ready and willing now to enter the classroom. How do you know the love that you described?
I just know it. It's here, inside, all the time,
Yes.
whispering to me.
Sometimes shouting. Yes. Now for a moment at the beginning you said, I want to come over from my cushion to this cushion to be close to love and peace. That's just your way in to the you that is love and peace. How quickly you see that it's not outside of you. And yet, you can appear in countless ways emanating the love and peace that you are. So beautiful. For now, this is our beautiful starting point. And perhaps we have time on other days to sit with what comes up as a result of this beautiful starting point and allow it. Because your knowing, when you say yes to your knowing, you are giving permission to open up a very big can of worms. Do you know that expression? Nothing can hide, let's say. All of the details. You're a complex and beautiful mechanism. You have layers inside of your layers, and they're now all opened up and on the table under the microscope. And that's what happens when you say yes to love. I'm willing to be seen. Whatever happens, whatever comes, no matter how painful or excruciating it may feel, I'm willing. Look at that. Thank you, my love. Thank you.
So I'm willing to be seen, and
Just go like that, my love.
I'm willing to be seen. So I come with something that I feel very ashamed of, and that is that I feel a part in me that is very greedy, and it's so painful. I was also coming yesterday with a taxi, same conditions, So I was coming. I wanted to come to see you already yesterday. So I was coming 2 days earlier to Chennai, and I couldn't come because of the rain to Tiru, and the taxi driver was not able to drive me. The streets are closed and too much rain, and anyway, then sleeping in the taxi in the night, and yesterday we were able to come here, and he wanted much more money that we were how to say,
That you had agreed upon?
yeah. And you know, there's something in me that always feels so cheated, and I can feel also this greediness in me that I cannot accept or also see that he needed much more time and much more effort, and you know, I only see this, that I don't want to give him this, and I feel cheated from the beginning somehow, you know. And there's this story through my life with this, and it feels I feel very ashamed about it.
That sense of shame, we can use that as your springboard inward. Now, shame has another edge to it that we can come to later. But in itself, it is also a moment of reckoning. It is you saying, hold on a minute, something isn't right here. I can feel something not true. There is some wisdom in the shame. The shame then gets compounded with your sense of being unworthy, and it builds into a great monster, if you like, of I am inherently bad. But in its core, something is saying to you, I feel uncomfortable with this. Why am I holding on? Why am I tightening when it comes to that? Particularly when it comes to funds, to money. But actually it doesn't matter what it is. It can be a person. It can be your time. The child mind is constantly greedy for its own place, for its own position. But let's understand why. First of all, you bringing this up and being willing to be seen. How could there be shame in that? This is the step that's required. To say, I don't know everything that I think that I know. And more to the point, I admit that I am wrong about everything that I think that I know. All human beings are in a position of lack. Feel that they are. Because you've forgotten your reality. When you have forgotten that you are everything, you somehow want to claim everything, to bring yourself back to everything. Do you see the child mind is on a mission to get something that it feels is missing? And as we said earlier, it's not all wrong, in fact. It's trying to remember itself. And it's going to go on a long journey, a misunderstood, meandering journey of trying to get what it feels is missing. But in a finite way, in things. Let's discover the you that is not missing anything, that has no need. When there is no need, there can be no greed. The greed is only the fear of that need not being met. So you stockpile. Do you know that word?
Yes.
Okay. You gather up in case. And life will give you constant reminders of your position of lack, seemingly. It will push you. As for the long journey, again, what a test. So you could really state your position. I'm here for love. I'm here to know who I am, whatever it takes. Rainwater, up to the car bonnet, sleeping on the roof, whatever it takes. That's your dedication. Can you put your left hand here? Why did you want to come and see Ma?
I had to.
Why?
There's no question why. Simply this knowing that I have to.
Okay. And what do you feel in the presence of Ma?
Softness.
How do you know that softness?
I know it.
Okay. What wisdom speaks? When I say what do you feel in the presence of Ma, it feels finite. What I really mean is what do you feel in presence? The form of Ma is simply presence in form. As are you. As is this microphone. As is the taxi. As is the rain. As is the greed. Everything is you, coming to point you back to you. So now, looking from this knowing, allow that knowing to emanate. Is the knowing itself greedy?
No.
Does it need anything?
No.
Is it full of shame?
No.
No. You are eternally self-sufficient, with a capital S. What a beautiful opportunity arose with the taxi driver, for you to see it and feel it, and the beauty in feeling it to be so painful. Do you see that if you didn't feel the pain of it, there would be no awakening?
Yeah, there was the pain, and at the same time there was also this softness around this greediness, to something in me that also holds this.
There you are.
But still there are greedy actions, so I can feel this pain, this greediness coming up.
Okay.
Also when I feel the softness, that's
Yes.
still.
And they're going to come up more and more because you have come into recognition of your knowing, of the softness. This is actually the deal. The minute you walk into love's classroom, it is to say, show me everything. And it hurts. And it feels painful. To come to the self is to know your personal self. It's not separate, it's one and the same self. All that's required now is integrity, which is a big all. Better catch it. And life will give you many opportunities to feel it. You can be sure about that. It's so simple. The minute you leave here, you go to have lunch. All the interactions that you have with all of the beings. It's in those moments to catch how the child mind acts out. And it feels so normal to the child mind. It doesn't even feel that it's acting out. It's just its way of behaving. But you're ready now and you're equipped. Because your knowing is the great parent. It won't let you get away with anything. But it's not scolding the child in the way the child feels scolded. But it is firm. Very firm. But it will never condemn you, the little you. So again, surrender yourself to the process of feeling how painful this is, the greed. And now you're learning why it's there. Do you see how narrow and limited the child mind's view is at the moment? It feels the greed and condemns it. Bad. I am bad. Now again, always see the wisdom of the child mind. In its I am bad is something in there, simply, I have misunderstood. There is something here that can be deepened and understood. This is such a beautiful process, and you are being eaten even when you don't know you're being eaten, in your love for love. The body can shake, everything can happen, and you remain as you are. Is your knowing shaking? And within that, the shaking is not negated. It's seen as a beautiful process. Something is being released through the shaking. When you're faced with truth, the form shakes. How could it not? So nothing is wrong. This is bigger than even your story. Lifetimes of forgetfulness. Lifetimes of a sense of betrayal. Lifetimes of tightness against further betrayal. And yet, here you are feeling the softness of being, knowing. Please come to the cushion as often as you feel to, even with small details or what feels like a small detail. Because it's in those details, that's where you release, that's where you unravel and deepen into you. And you'll serve everyone else by doing it.